Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to NPR Debates, the show in which selected listeners meet to debate pressing issues of the day. I'm your host, Jeff Salaby. Last week, our debaters looked at both sides of the People vs. Daphne Jones case. To briefly summarize the events of this so-called runaway trolley trial for you, a few weeks ago, Miss Daphne Jones found herself in a sticky situation. She was standing at a switch alongside trolley tracks, specifically at the area where the two tracks would split. She noticed that up ahead on the side of the tracks that the trolley's path would continue, there were 5 people working in dangerous way. On the other side, there was only one man working. Miss Jones, standing at the switch, decided to pull it and change the path of the trolley toward the lone man, whom we know as Chet Farley, in an attempt to save the lives of the other 5. Going back to what I was saying, last week we took a look at some listeners' opinions on what they would do if they were put in a scenario similar to Mr. Farley's position, but they were able to contort their body and flip the switch on themselves. We asked debaters if they would sacrifice their own life for the lives of the 5 others. This week, we decided to go the extra mile and ask Mr. Farley himself what he would have done if he were in that scenario, and whether or not he agrees with Daphne's decision on his life. Go ahead, Mr. Farley.
Hi, Jeff. I'm not really sure where to start. I listened to the debate last week and I thought it was very interesting. After dying, I was very angry and upset. I really hated and resented Daphne for her decision and the pain she put my family through. I found it was extremely unfair that I had to die that day. Did she ever stop to think that maybe I have friends and family that I love dearly? From the other side, I couldn't stand to think about the pain and shock she caused my family to go through, especially since our case is all over the news. It seems to be never-ending, and I just want my loved ones to be able to cope and be happy. All I could think about was how much I wanted to be able to be the one man alive watching the news report about a freak trolley accident and being able to think to myself, wow, I'm lucky to be alive. If I could have switched to trolley track, I don't think I would have. Something about altering fate makes me uneasy, and sacrificing myself would not be an easy decision to make on the spot. This is exactly why I think Daphne was very wrong in her decision. No one should be able to decide that it is okay on any grounds to kill someone on the spot like that. Daphne had no right to play God and decide that my life was worth less than the lives of the other 5. I would have walked away from the track unscathed if it weren't for her screwing up the fate of things. If I were to have made the decision to sacrifice myself, I would think less about the pain of the hit, but more about the consequences that would follow my death. Even though it may sound selfish that I would choose not sacrifice myself in that situation, it would be simply because in making a split-second decision, I would immediately think about my family first and taking care of them as my number one priority. I cannot put a face value on the worth of my family's happiness and well-being, and I am the one who is supposed to be there to ensure their safety and prosperity. Daphne took that from me.
Wow, Chet, excellent. Thank you for sharing your opinion with us. I think your point of view on the subject will be very valuable to our viewers. Next, we have a surprise guest, Daphne Jones, who is very eager to share her side of the story. Daphne, are you there?
Hi, Jeff. What was I supposed to do? It was a split-second decision, and when I saw the trolley bulleting toward the 5 men, I felt morally compelled as a citizen of the human race to try and save as many lives as I possibly could. It is true that I have no right to play God, but I wasn't trying to play God. If I could play God, I would have without a doubt stopped the trolley in its exact position before the collision even happened, preventing anyone from being killed. Once again, I was simply trying to keep as many people alive as possible. As Machiavelli says, the end justifies the means, and in this situation, the end or the outcome was merely the loss of 1 life as opposed to the loss of 5. I had very little time to think anything over, but in my opinion, that seemed to justify my quick decision, and therefore I was confident in my choice. I am not a criminal. In my act, there is no malice, no intent, no premeditation, just the compulsion to save as many people as possible. I am very remorseful, and I truly never meant to kill anyone in cold blood. It seemed to me like it is almost impossible to decide on a right answer and course of action in this situation, but I knew that either way there was going to be a very unfortunate outcome, and I only tried to be as proactive as possible. My true intent was to act out in compassion, and I believe that I have contributed positively toward the preservation of humanity. I never meant to hurt your family, Chet, and I hope that they can view you as somewhat of a hero. If you think about it on a positive note, your life saved 5 others. Whether or not you would have decided to sacrifice yourself if given the option, you are remembered as a hero, and 5 other families are still very grateful and owe all of their happiness to you. Thank you.
Well, there you have it, folks. Thank you, Daphne, and thanks again, Chet, for sharing your sides of the story. I think we have gained some very useful information here. We hope you'll listen next week. Until then, this is Jeff Salaby on behalf of NPR Debates saying, mind your pros and cons.